Good afternoon and welcome to what promises to be yet another thrilling installment of action from REL Division 6, Weeks 8 and 9. I am your host, Callisti Mayer, the Golden Apple of Discord. Okay, so it's been another interesting few weeks for me personally. I've been really busy with work, and I also had an incident last week where I put my back out. I was putting my daughter in the car to take her to daycare, and something as simple as that, and I twisted the wrong way. I did something and ended up putting my back out. So I've basically been for pretty much a week. In fact, it has been a week now. Just been flat on my back, not doing much apart from annoying you guys on Discord. So that's part of the reason why it's been a very, very delayed installment of this episode of your recap. So like the last episode, this is going to be a 2-week episode. I'm going to cover the action from the last 2 weeks, and just go sort of get a look at the playoff picture. And yeah, just give you a quick heads up on what's the games that have been played and how you guys are doing and what I'm thinking, and we'll take it from there. For me, my Blood Bowl games, I actually have been able to play a few. I haven't been able to record, but I was able to play a few games because hey, it's pretty easy to play when you're laying down 24 hours a day. So I played in my second World Cup qualifier match, and ended up getting my ass handed to me. So after my first win, I'm not sure if you caught my last episode, but my first World Cup qualifier match, I ended up winning quite handily, winning 7-0. This time round, I was up against a really good coach, Hindi or Hindus, goes by both names, G-Man coach, and everybody before the match was saying, wow, he's a really good coach, you're going to have a really tough time there. So I believed it. We played the game, and he was really good, good solid coach. It also didn't help that my dice were atrocious, but that's taking nothing away from him. He beat me fair and square. Other action, been a pretty piss poor few weeks in the regular league as well. I got beaten by Dwarves 2-0. And I had a bye week, kind of a bye week. I was playing again. I meant to be playing Cheese X, his Orcs, and we didn't manage to schedule. So I ended up getting a bye week, and then the day later I ended up playing. During the day, ended up playing Motley, who's unbeaten in REL 2, and a formidable dwarf coach, and he took me apart. I was really impressed with how he played his game. Very good coach, and yeah, he beat me 2-0, and I'm no excuses. He just was way better than me. So hats off to him. He's probably going to win the division as well if Gengar ends up failing. Anyway, let's get into the action for you guys, because we've got some legends in the making in this division too. So let's take a quick look at week 8. So for week 8, we had your obligatory bye week games. So we had the Fogmire Fen Beast picked up a win, Baxam Overkill picked up a win, and the Farm Animals picked up a win. So those are your bye week games. For games that were really played, we had Ars Goetia taking out the Rottingham Rockers. So let's take a quick look at that one. Loaded slowly. And we had ours Gotia taking out the Rottingham Rockers, and let's take a quick look. So we had 4 deaths, my lord. And this was a solid 1-0 win. But there were definitely a lot of death to be had, which is probably quite typical for a Chaos versus Nurgle game. Take a look. The Running Rockers actually had more ball possession, and they were fairly even on blocks. But it's where the injuries come into play and the deaths. We had 1 kill inflicted for Ars Gotia, 3 of them for the Rottingham Rockers. So they were murdering Ars Gotia, but they didn't manage to capitalise and get the win. So this is definitely a mixed bag result, or a Pyrrhic victory, as is now in vogue to say. And they had Rottingham Rockers had 104 yards running, so they looks like they were a lot more productive, but not nearly as effective in this matchup. Let's take a quick look at the SPP gain. That looking like there's 1 SPP difference. Ars Gotia got 1 more SPP. All those deaths definitely for the Rottingham Rockers, they got some decent SPP off of that. So wow, that looks like a game. Okay, so moving on, we had You Worship Chaos versus Mutants in Human Clothing, and Spoony Bard managed to continue his steamrollering of the division. More of that in a moment. Let's take a quick look at the game. So obviously all the death was in the prior game, because this one had none of it. We had 2 touchdowns, 1 pass, 1 expulsion. Fairly even amount of armor breaks, but the Mutants in Human Clothing just dominated the game by the looks of it. They had the ball, and it looks like the You Worship Chaos had the ball for 2 turns, and that was it. We had a pass for the Underworld team. We had the same number of blocks. We had the same number of injuries. We had more KOs inflicted for the Mutants in Human Clothing. They just basically dominated this game. Looks like a very, very convincing win for the Mutants in Human Clothing. And as I'm sure many of you know, Spoony Bard's not exactly a braggalicious dude. He doesn't like to sort of talk up his game, which is kind of similar to me, except he actually wins. I don't talk up my game, and I don't win. Very, very humble. So, yep, he's definitely ruling this division right now with an iron fist or iron claw. Then we had the Gambas Gals in a shocking but somewhat expected 2-0 win over Raskin Bobbins. I say shocking because Raskin Bobbins is definitely one of those teams that's at the top of the division, and based on sort of the position and that each team is at on the leaderboard and the seasons they're having, you would have expected Raskin Bobbins to take this. Gambas Gals, though, if you take a closer look at the team, which we're going to do in a little moment, they are stacked. This team is stacked, and so it's shocking that Gambas Gals won, because they haven't been having that many wins this season, and kind of to be expected because Gambas Gals is stacked. So yeah, definitely interesting. So let's take a quick look at the stats. So 2 touchdowns, 1 pass, similar number of armor breaks between the 2 of them. Raskin Bobbins probably got a little bit irritated at being dominated by a load of girls, and so they got 2 expulsions. Obviously their fouling game wasn't up to snuff this week. 75% ball possession. That's insane. Again, the 2 turns where Baskin Robbins had the ball and then promptly lost it. And it looks like to be at least a turn where the ball was just on the ground. Yep, same number of passes and catches. Baskin Robbins had a little bit more of blocks succeeded. Gambasgal's got an injury though, whereas Baskin Robbins didn't. So it looks like their game plan was to injure and win the attrition game, but it just didn't fire, and they were dominated by a very impressive Amazon team. And as I said, it's surprising because Baskin Robbins has been doing very well this season. But it's about time also, on the other hand, for Gamba's Gals and Gamba as the coach to start knocking out some impressive wins. And then we had, to finish off the week, we had the Lizard Beasts in a 2-1 win over the Elfin Sea Serpents. Two to 1. We had a death for the Lizard Beasts. We had an expulsion for the Elfin Sea Serpents. So these high elves aren't afraid to foul. They probably needed to foul with all that AV9. Although it might have been skinks they were targeting. And let's take a quick look. So it looks like there's a fair amount of time that the ball was on the ground. We had just the 1 pass, which is pretty low for high elves. Although they were out blocking the Lizard Beasts, and they definitely did more injuries and more removals. 2 KOs, 2 injuries, 1 kill versus Lizard Beasts' paltry 2 KOs. So definitely a focus in trying to outbash the Lizard Beasts, but it just was all for naught, because the Lizard Beasts managed to walk away with the 2-1 win, the 2-1 grind. Now let's take a quick look at week number 9, or day 9 in game. So we had our bye weeks was the Lizard Beasts got a win, Baskin Robbins got a win, and who's the other one? Oh, there we go, right below. So the farm animals, it's their second bye week in a row, so they got another freebie. Games that were actually played, we had the Gambas Gals in a 1-0 win over the Elfin Sea Serpents. That looks like it was an admin game. A classic admin game, the result there. Okay, so that's not much happening there. Then we had Maximum Overkill in a 2-1 win over You Worship Chaos. So the Maximum Overkill, the Ogre team, they got 1 death, 13 armor breaks. Same for You Worship Chaos. But the Ogres looked like they were able to win it with a classic 2-1 grind. Let's take a quick look at the stats. Yeah, so it looks like this seems to be the division where the teams that are focusing on removals and deaths and casualties aren't the teams that are winning. It doesn't seem to be a very valid strategy for you guys. It is everywhere else, but for this division, it seems to be if you go for the attrition game and you go for the removals, you end up losing the game. So Your Worship Chaos, they came out all guns blazing. They got 2 passes, which is impressive. Same amount of ball possession, similar number of blocks. But whereas the Ogres were getting KOs left and right, it's for the Norse it was injuries and kills. But they still managed to. The Ogres still managed to win the game. So I think it was just a classic case of the classic 2-1 grind, and a good sort of overall coaching by the Ogre team there. Good game plan. Then we had Mutants in human clothing versus Ars Goetia. Now this is an interesting game and a big game as well, because I think Ars Goetia is close to the top, and Mutants in human clothing are no surprise at the top. And this was a 2-0 win, so that's a very impressive result. And let's have a look. Yep, the Underworld managed to get a kill, and they're just going to completely upset what I just said, because they got the casualties, they got the ball possession, they got the win. This is the exception to the rule, to the exception that is Division 6. They got they got the win, and they got the casualties, and they got the ball possession, and they got everything. For a guy that's so a coach that's so dismissive of his chances and of his position and the strength of his position, the stats don't lie, Spoonie. You're definitely knocking out of the park and leaving broken teams in your wake. Yeah, that's pretty much all that can be said for that. And then we had a draw for the Fogmire Fen Beasts and the Rottingham Rockers. So we take a look at the stats for this one. We had 1 touchdown apiece. An amazingly large amount of time where the ball was just on the ground. People just couldn't pick it up, I guess. Or it was in a scrum and it was just being battled over and sitting on the floor the whole time. Large number of casualties for the Rottingham Rockers. Large number of KOs for the Fogmire Fen Beasts. So that might have been a telling stat there. It looks like the Fogmire Fen Beasts aren't managing to bash, and the Rottingham Rockers probably have a lot of, or at least a claw pom piece. So let's take a look at the leaderboard. So this is after some week 10 games have been played, but there is one undefeated team, and not only undefeated, but there is one undefeated and all wins team, maybe in the entirety of Rebel. So 10 wins. At the time of this recording, it would be, well, it is 10 wins, but we're recording for week 9, so it would be 9 wins. Quite far ahead of the next challenger, which is Chabsu with the farm animals. Then we have the lizard beasts and Raskin Bobbins just behind him. Then we have Gamba's Gals. So Gamba's Gals and Gamba have just started the season so poorly. And then I think a few episodes ago, probably more like 4 or 5 weeks ago now, I was commenting on how Gamba's Gals should be doing so much better than they are, and looking at their team and just the sheer profusion of stat ups and other scary things on this team. I was commenting that it was a bit disappointing to see them not doing as well as their team was built should suggest. Looks like Gamba heard that and decided to do something about it. Then we have Ars Goetia, coached by Zizetta. The Rottingham Rockers, You Worship Chaos, Maximum Overkill. Maximum Overkill, they are holding their own. I mean, they're not topping the leaderboard, but for an ogre team, they're doing really good. I'm proper impressed with this team. I'm not sure how many of those wins are from bye weeks, but still, it's impressive. And then closing out the bottom of the division, we have the Elfin Sea Serpents and the Fogmire Fen Beasts. So definitely the big champ and the guy that's almost assuredly going through to the playoffs is going to be Spoonie Bard with the Mutants in Human Clothing, and as I said, I think they're the only team that is 100% win record. Now this division, they actually have 2 teams going through to the playoffs. So right now it's going to be Chapsu going through. But I mean, I would say it's that second spot is still open to anyone from Ars Goetia and above. So Ars Goetia, Gambas Gals, Raskin Bobbins, Lizard Beasts, and Farm Animals. Definitely, any of those could take that second place to go through to the playoffs. Let's take a quick look at the schedule. So we have one game left to be played in week 10, but for those teams, just to see. So Raskin Bobbins has a bye week. That's nice for week 11. The Farm Animals are playing the Ultimate Sea Serpents. I'm not sure if they're still in it. Last week's game was an admin win, so they might be no longer in the division, or they may just have missed a week. We'll see. We have Maximum Overkill versus the Lizard Beasts, so that's going to be telling. If the Lizard Beasts can win that one, then they're still in with a shot. And then we have Gambas Gals versus Mutants in Human Clothing. This is probably going to be the coffin nail in Gamba's chances. If Gamba does manage to win or get a draw, pretty much if he gets a win versus Spoony Bar, then he's still in with a shot. But a loss here would definitely, I think, would just put him out of contention. And then we have the Rottingham Rockers and the Fogmire Fen Beasts, who are closer to the bottom of the table, who are getting a free win. And then we have the You Worship Chaos versus Ars Goetia. And I've got a feeling that Ars Goetia is going to take that one and keep their playoff hopes alive. Let's take a look at week 12. So we've got Gambas Gals with a free admin win. We've got the Lizard Beasts with a free admin win. You got the Awesome Sea Serpents with a free admin win, but they may or may not still be in it. Raskin Bobbins is playing You Worship Chaos. And the Farm Animals versus Ars Goetia. That's probably going to be the game of the week in terms of strength concerning the playoff chances. I think these two teams are going to be sort of fairly evenly matched. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Chapsy was saying earlier in the season that Ars Goetia was a scary team, and I think it got pillaged and brutalized by one of the other teams in the division in an earlier week, and now there's the teams are looking very comparable, and definitely the Farm Animals have the better record right now. So maybe Chapsu's feeling a little bit more confident. I know he wasn't at the beginning of the season about this matchup, so I think that's going to be a very interesting game with a lot of implications. Mutants in Human Clothing, I think that's going to be a fun game. I'd like to see that one. That one will be good. And then going into the final week, we have another free win for Maximum Overkill. We have the Farm Animals versus Mutants in Human Clothing. So I think this will probably end up being a must-win for the Farm Animals. Raskin Bobbins versus the Rottingham Rockers. That's another must-win for Raskin Bobbins. Yeah, the last week is actually pretty interesting because you've got some real teams that are in contention facing off against each other. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time we get to week 13, the final week, Mutants in Human Clothing have clinched it, but the Animals are still in second, but they're just being chased by Raskin Bobbins and the Lizard Beasts and Gambas Gals, and this is going to be, each of these games is going to be pivotal on that team's chances of making it to the playoffs. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for these other teams to play Kingmaker and just really ruin somebody's season. So good on you if that's what your game plan is. Everybody loves that guy that can't make it and just decides to shit on somebody else's parade. You'll get major props from everybody else apart from the person whose season you just ruined. So looking forward to that. So let's take a quick look at some teams, just to illustrate some points. So this isn't so much as a team review, it's just me wanting to take a quick look at some teams just to really sort of reinforce some points I've made during this broadcast. So Mutants in Human Clothing, they are, as I said, I'm pretty sure that they're the only team with a perfect record. It's probably why Speedy Bar doesn't want to talk about his run so far. It's like a pitcher in baseball. You know, if they're on a no-no, they don't want anybody to talk to anybody. They don't want anybody talking about it. Nothing. So he's probably on his no-no, his Blood Bowl no-no, and he's not wanting to talk about it. He's not wanting to talk about how well he's doing. And he'll probably talk about it till the cows come home after he's made playoffs. Anyway, so let's take a quick look at the team and just maybe see why this team is just running away with it, other than having a great coach at the helm. So we have the Warpstone Troll with Claw, so Mighty Blow, Claw. We have the Guard, we have the Tentacles, we have the Stand Firm. This is just a pain in the arse of a troll. We have the two Blitzers. One's Claw Palm, one's Claw Mighty Blow with Tackle and Horns. Horns was an interesting choice. He probably took that because he wanted to be able to blitz with that piece and against, like, you know, your Chaos Warriors and Strength 4 pieces, Black Orcs, things of that nature. But I know it's good for dealing with those matchups. But I still would be pulling for Claw, Mighty Blow, Tackle, Frenzy, Juggernaut piece. I think that's an ideal Skaven Blitzer. That's something I'd like to build towards anyway. But then again, Speedy Bar's entitled to do whatever the hell he likes because he's the guy that's winning every game. So he has a grand plan and it's probably way better than mine. Let's have a look. It's two Skaven throwers. One he took kick on, which is interesting. And the other one is his primary ball carrier. He has extra arms. He has two heads. Block. That's a nice piece. Then we have a bunch of goblins. Some with two heads. Some with Blodge and Sidestep. That's a good piece. Sukiyo. Yeah, Blodge Step Goblin. Very nice. If you can get to 31 SPP, he's gonna probably get two heads on that piece, and then you're laughing. He's got his Bullhawk, or the startings of a Bullhawk. He just needs to roll another double to get Strip Ball. And then because he's got a Wrestle Horns piece, and he's got another two heads piece. So very nice. Yeah, this is a nice team. I like it a lot, and I can see why. Speedy Bar's a great coach, obviously, but he's also got a good team behind him. So it's giving him more opportunity to win those games. Another team I wanted to take a look at was I wanted to do a comparison between Ars Goetia and the Farm Animals. So Ars Goetia at the beginning of the season was way up there in TV. It had a lot of scary pieces, and then I can't remember who came along and trimmed this team really badly, but somebody did, and now it's not quite as scary. Yeah, this team has been trimmed. So we still have Ipos, who is the killer on the team, and he is still going strong. I remember him from last time I reviewed this team. We still have Beleth, who is Mighty Blow Clawpiece. We still have a great ball carrier in Floros, with the agility up and your sure hands and your block. But yeah, this team isn't nearly as scary as it was before. And then let's have a look at the farm animals. And the farm animals wasn't nearly as impressive as Ars Gotia at the beginning of the season. And there's some good development on this team, but I would definitely say that these two teams now are more matched in TV. There's 300 TV difference, but in terms of applicable skills, Ars Gotia still has some nice skills there. So I think this is going to be a match that's going to fall upon chance and luck when these two teams play. It's going to fall more upon the sort of the dice and the kickoff events, and the coaching skill, rather than just one team having this unbeatable, scary ass team. So we've got the horse 2 with your Mighty Blow and Claw. We've got the bull, who is Blodge, Guard, Stand Firm. That's very irritating. We have the crow and the beef, block and block guard respectively. We have the sheep, another Blodge piece. So Tabsu likes his Blodge chaos. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's pretty cool, but I know there are some coaches that would be like, oh no, you should go for more offensive. But I like it, it's nice. We have the rabbit 2 with Mighty Blow and Claw and block. And we have the pig, who's a nice safety with wrestle and tackle. And then we have the ball carrier, the dog, who has sure hands, block, dodge to another blodge piece, and 2 heads. So when he's been getting the doubles, he's been going for blodge, and I can't fault him for that. But I'm sure if there were other Chaos coaches watching this, they might be having some other suggestions about the way Tabsu could have taken those skill ups. But yeah, I definitely think this match, when it comes, when it's going to be played in, I think, what was it, week 11 or week 12, it's going to be an amazing match, and it's going to come down to just coaching skill level, I think, unless there's a real sort of weighting in the dice. Kickoff results going all one way, and blocking and dodging dice all going one way as well. I think it's going to come down to just pure ability. And then the other team I wanted to look at was Gambas Gals. Very quickly, because I think we looked at this team quite recently. But I wanted to just highlight again why this is probably one of the most disgusting teams I've seen in quite a while, and my team's pretty disgusting. But then again, my team has like another season on this team. So we have Killer K, Blodge, Mighty Blow, Jump Up, Tackle, amazing piece. We have Rexa, Blodge, Guard, Mighty Blow, Movement Up, great piece. We have Jenks, Blodge, Guard, Mighty Blow, Tackle, great piece. I'm going to be saying great piece a lot. Turd Fergal, or Turd Ferg, and then an exclamation mark. I'm not quite sure. Let's find out. Yep, it's an exclamation mark. Turd Ferg. So yep, this lovely lady. She has 2 agility ups, sure hands, blodge. She is probably a wet dream come true. Made form, and she's not too bad on the eyes either. Definitely better looking than an Urgle warrior. Then we have Lamba, the catcher, who is still really decent, although she's only got block. But that's the thing about Amazons, is that they get one skill up and they're like, ooh, that's nice. Then we have Nush Nush, the first of the 2 strength up pieces, who's a thrower. She's strength up and she's got blocks, so now she's a blodge strength up thrower, and still at only 16 SPP, which is just terribly disgusting. Blackburn Sensei, I've been reporting on Blackburn Sensei for God knows how long, since this team first started. One of Gamba's first skill ups on this team was that strength up on Blackburn Sensei, and Blackburn Sensei at that time was quite alone in terms of skill ups. I think the first match she got it, and I was like, whoa, strength up is your first skill up. This is like a season ago, nearly 2 seasons ago. Now she's been joined by lots of other wonderful pieces, but Blackburn Sensei is still rocking it. So she has Blodge, strength up, tackle. We got the Wolf, who has a pending level up, who's Blodge as well. And then we have another Blodge line woman with tackle as well. So Pixel Chick. 3 team rerolls, 1 apothecary. As I said, this team should be doing amazing things. They are now doing amazing things. I'd like to think that maybe Gamba watched this and listened to my cutting appraisal of his team and was like, I'll show you, and started winning. That'd be nice. Okay. And I think that pretty much covers the teams I wanted to look at. Just to give you a quick exposition on teams and why they're doing well, why they should be doing better than they are, and just that classic matchup that I think is going to happen in a few weeks. When was it going to happen? Yeah, week 12. Week 12 is, I think that's going to be a match and a half. And I don't expect either coach to disappoint me. So that covers it. I hopefully you've enjoyed this episode, taking a quick look at the teams and how you've all been doing. Hopefully my back will be back to normal, so I can go back to work. I can start playing with my kids. I can start eating dinner with my wife rather than eating on the floor. And I can start doing these recaps at a regular time, not having to wait a few weeks, in the hopes that my back will be better the next day, which is what happened this week, or this time. Anyway, I'm rambling, so I will get off. Until next week, have a great week, play some great Blood Bowl, and get some deaths, and make me proud.